Hey guys, the one of the things that was interesting to me is the time period of the play. So most current plays talk about either incredibly distant historical events, like with Hamilton, or a lot of plays talk about like very current events. However, this is like somewhat distant yet still memorable for a lot of the audience that may watch it. And so it was just a weird time period that like caught me off guard. The next thing that caught my attention was the complexity of the stage design. There was always just a lot going on. The costume design was very complex and very straightforward and flamboyant, and I just thought that that was very interesting. I think that the most obvious value represented was that of sexuality, as most of the characters were gay, and the AIDS epidemic was incredibly prevalent in the homosexual community in New York. And obviously, the other concern that comes to mind is AIDS itself. Many of the characters were HIV positive, and it just shows how like devastating the illness is and was. Um, One thing that I looked up was the true impact of the AIDS epidemic in the United States, and I found that just over 700,000 people have died from AIDS since it was first reported in 1981, and there's still currently like 1.1 million people plus living with it in the United States, and it's just a much greater prevalence rate than I was expecting it to be. And I guess it makes more sense why it's called a true epidemic, and the effects that it has are more outlined in this play, and it really brought it to light for me. Two questions that I have are: do we think that this could take place like today in modern times with the more open views of sexuality and homosexuality in particular, as well as the advances in LGBTQ rights? And I've heard a lot of songs from the musical or from the soundtrack outside of the musical. Do we think that the production is still earning money despite no longer being in stage? Thanks.